In Avatar: The Last Airbender, Azula is a complex character as she's a major villain that appears in Book 2 and has her downfall into insanity in Book 3. But when you look closer, there's a reason she's so broken, and it's how she was raised. For one, by her dad Ozai and how he always expected her to be the best no matter what, and it was ingrained in her. And then with Ursa, who never connected with Azula like the way she did with Zuko. And in the show, the only time Azula heard that her mom loved her was just a figment of her imagination. But that sort of starts to get resolved after the show ends and later on in the comics, but I found a fan comic on Instagram that goes on about how Azula would begin her descent and it starts with her mom. So all credit goes to Vago_XD, the comic, and their Instagram will be linked at the top of the description if you want to go check out their other stuff. So the comic starts out with Ursa walking through the royal palace courtyard. She looks over and sees a young Azula feeding the turtle doves, which is kind of a nod because usually you see a young Zuko doing that. But Ursa tells Azula to come here and the princess calls the turtle doves stupid. Annoyed, she walks over to her mother asking what is it and that she hasn't done anything. But she tells her daughter to just walk with her for a while. While walking, Ursa wants to know how Azula's training is going and Azula, annoyed, retorts as if she actually cares. Ursa insists that it's not true and that she does care, but Azula tells her that she's not even a bender and that there's no point in telling her as she'll never understand. Annoyed, Azula begins to walk off while Ursa just kinda stands there dumbfounded. Azula then asks where Zuko is and her mother says that he went on a trip with Iroh and Liu 10 to improve his firebending. Ursa says next time Azula could join them if she wanted and the princess says no thanks. Ursa, who's trying to connect with her daughter, says that they could play a game of Pai Sho. Ursa tries to get Azula to go first, but Azula, being the stubborn person she is, hesitantly admits she doesn't know how to play. Her mom seems pretty surprised that she doesn't know how as well. Then her mom smiles happily, telling her daughter that she'll teach her how to play. Ursa then sits behind Azula, who's taken aback, and she begins to explain the rules. But all the while, Azula isn't listening, and she's solely focused on her mom and in her own world. For the first time, Azula feels happy and truly connects with her mom, for which actually might be the first time in her life. Ursa continues to explain the rules and Azula is as happy as can be. Azula, being a child prodigy, catches on quick and then surprises Ursa on how fast she picks it up. Azula, who's happy, says that it isn't hard and she's found another strategy, but Ursa's attention is taken away when Zuko calls for her. Azula, with a smile on her face, still thinks her mom is there and she tries to tell her, but she sees that her mom ran off as soon as Zuko called her, leaving her all alone, and she watches Ursa, Zuko, Liu 10, and Iroh from afar. Zuko was hurt while with Liu 10 and Iroh, but Ursa tells him not to cry, all the while Azula just watches them. Angry, Azula firebends the Pai Sho board, freaking everyone out. Ursa yells at her daughter that this is unacceptable and to go to her room, and Azula runs off yelling that she hated that stupid game. Ursa feels like she's on her last legs and complains to Iroh that she doesn't know what to do with Azula anymore and that she thought they were finally bonding. Ursa, saddened, asks Iroh why Azula hates her so much, but Iroh tells her Azula doesn't hate her. He tells her that she's different from Zuko and that she may be a difficult child, but she still loves her mom, and the comic ends showing Azula in her room with Iroh continuing to talk, saying that she just needs her own space and in time Azula will come to her when she feels like it. But from the show you can kinda see how well that went and this eventually turned Azula into the character that we know. It's just kinda tragic as Azula feels abandoned by her mom and pretty much just a slave to her dad, but this was just a pretty interesting comic showing a bond between mom and daughter. But if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see more from me, go check out my other channels and go follow me on TikTok, which will all be linked down below. But with all that out of the way, I will see you in the next one. Peace.